missions are displayed on the map, and completed missions can be accessed through the mission list.
Lesson, we'll go over the basics of landing a light aircraft. You want to fly this mission a few times. It takes practice to make a perfect approach and landing. We're flying the Icon A5 just south of Kona International. The runway here is huge, so it's hard to miss. It's actually built over a lava field. Okay, there are 3 keys to landing an airplane. Speed, speed. And you guessed it, speed. My instructor always told me, you've got to slow down to go down. You have the airplane. Go ahead and pull the throttle back to 45%, or about 3,800 RPM. Good. Let's lower the landing gear now as well. You see how the nose drops? Lift the nose up just enough for a shallow descent, and we'll start slowing down. Let me show you something. I'll handle the throttle for this part of the lesson. You just concentrate on flying the airplane. Since speed is the key to a good landing, pay close attention to our airspeed. We want to descend toward the runway at about 55 knots in this aircraft. So rather than using the throttle to adjust our speed, raise the nose to slow down, or lower the nose to speed up. It might sound strange, but it'll really help you nail the landing. Go ahead and try it. We're a little fast, so raise the nose to slow down. Good job, we're right on speed. Okay, now that we're at 55 knots, make slight adjustments to maintain this airspeed. Okay, good job so far. You have control of the throttle again. The lights on the left side of the runway? Those are called the PAPI lights. They let you know if you're on the glide slope to the runway. All red lights mean you're too low, and all white lights mean you're too high. If you see 2 white and 2 red, you're right on the glide slope. Not all airports have these lights, however. Some airports use a very similar system called the VASI. Right now it shows 4 red lights, so we're low for the approach. To adjust how high or low we are, use the throttle. Since we're a little low, go ahead and give it a touch of throttle. We're looking for 2 white and 2 red lights. We're a little too low to make the landing. Let's retry that section. You see the lights on the left side of the runway? Those are called the PAPI lights. They let you know if you're on the glide slope to the runway. All red lights mean you're too low, and all white lights mean you're too high. If you see 2 white and 2 red, you're right on the glide slope. Not all airports have these lights, however. Some airports use a very similar system called the VASI. Right now it shows 4 red lights, so we're low for the approach. To adjust how high or low we are, use the throttle. Since we're a little low, go ahead and give it a touch of throttle. We're looking for 2 white and 2 red lights. Right where we need to be. Great job. Remember to put the throttle back after making adjustments. Okay, getting close. Try and make only minor adjustments. We're a little left of the runway. Turn right a few degrees. over the runway, pull the power back to idle. And hold the nose up so the aircraft just settles onto the runway. Nice landing. Now gently brake until we've slowed down to about 10 knots. Great job. That was a beautiful approach and landing.
Steerman? Let's do a quick walk around before we go. The Boeing PT-17 Steerman was used as a military trainer throughout World War II. After the war, thousands of surplus Steermans were sold into the civilian market. Many of these were converted for use as crop dusters, a few of which are still operational around the islands. Others are in the hands of aircraft aficionados and airshow performers. The Steerman's great flying qualities, good looks, and open cockpit have made it a true classic. You ready to give it a go? Climb on up. Take a look around. You'll see that the panel is fairly simple. Pilots use a checklist to help them remember all the steps required to safely operate an aircraft. Go ahead and bring up the checklist. You can manually perform the checklist, run the checklist automatically, or skip it completely. Since we don't have a lot of time in this aircraft, I'll run through the checklist with you and help you out with the steps. Here's the engine start checklist. Brakes, apply and hold. Throttle open to 1/2. Mixture to full rich. Okay, ignition on. Battery goes on. Starter on. And we have ignition.
Throttle back to 800 RPM. Oil pressure looks good. Propeller control, high RPM. Alternator and radios on. Brakes released. Notice how hard it is to see over the nose when on the ground? You can look over the side to get a better view. Go ahead and try it. Go easy on the brakes in a tail dragger like the Steerman. The tail can come up and flip the plane, so stay aware of that during the takeoff and landing. You're taxiing a little too fast. Hey, we're in the grass. This aircraft can handle it, but try and stay on the taxiway. Stop here and I'll run through the before takeoff checks. When lined up and ready, slowly add full throttle. Rise on its own, and a little up elevator will have us flying at around 60 knots. Give some left rudder. And we're off. Pitch to climb out at 80 miles per hour or about 70 knots. We'll climb straight out to 500 feet and then do a little sightseeing. 500 feet. Level out and maintain this altitude. Set the throttle for cruise at 85% or 22 inches on the manifold pressure. I'll pull the propeller back to 1900 RPM. I see a cruise ship coming into port. Let's make our way out there to get a better look. Big ship. Why don't you circle it to get a better view? Yeah, here's where the steerman really shines. It's a nice docile airplane with an open cockpit that lets you really enjoy the scenery. Now that we're over water, feel free to put the plane through its paces so you get a good feel for its flight characteristics. We're getting pretty slow. Expect less responsive controls at this speed. That should set us up nicely for landing. If you enjoy flying the steerman, you can fly some sightseeing jobs or fly an aerobatic routine at the local air show. Coconut Island. What a perfect spot for a picnic. See the bridges crossing the river? We'll follow the river to the falls. Flying sightseeing tours, always fly to the right or the left of landmarks so the passengers get a good view. Let's fly to the right of the river so we can circle the falls to the left when we get there. To the left, and then we'll start looking for the airport. We want to start heading back. Don't fly this low over populated places. Rainbow Falls is 80 feet tall and ends in a natural pool surrounded by wild ginger. visual for lining up on runway 03 is Lokahi Park, back near the center of town. Turn to a heading of 130 to line up with the park. Straight ahead is Lokahi Park. Use the park as a reference to line up with runway 03. Look for the track and several baseball diamonds. Getting a perfect landing in a tail dragger is a little more difficult than in a tricycle gear aircraft. Landing hard on the main gear pushes the tail down. If you're carrying too much airspeed, this results in a bounce, or two, or three. So make sure you're nice and slow with a nose-high attitude before touching down. This is called a three-point landing because all the wheels touch at nearly the same time. Runway 03 to your left. Go ahead and start turning left to line us up for landing. Time for before landing check. Mixture to rich. Prop RPM to full. For the landing, our approach speed should be about 75 miles per hour or 65 knots. It can be hard to see the runway over the nose on the approach. Some pilots make S-turns to keep the runway in sight, or you can just look over the edge of the cockpit. Landing. Turn left at the next taxiway. Try to keep it on the tarmac, would you? Taxi back to the hangar. Some pilots will make S-turns while they taxi to keep a good view out front. Go ahead and park it in front of the hangar. Through the engine shutdown checklist. Throttle idle. Prop to low RPM. Ignition goes off. As the engine quits, move the throttle to full. Electrics and battery off.
Great flight. If you want to come back and fly some sightseeing flights, check the job board.